Welcome into Live with Lighthouse, the show where we guide you to the technology, talent, and marketing solutions to drive your business forward. I'm your host, Joe Ray, and I'm really excited for this week because we're entering into a mini season here where I'm bringing you some marketing conversation to help drive your business forward. It's a topic that's really close to my heart because that's the work that I do every day here at Lighthouse Technology Services. And I'm really looking forward to helping some other businesses learn from some great leaders who have some incredible philosophies and maybe some unconventional takes on marketing that I think can really benefit businesses of any size and any industry. Really looking forward to bringing some of these ideas to the Western New York business community. I'm really excited to be joined today by Sam Kuehnle, who's VP of Marketing at Loxo. Sam's got over a decade of experience in marketing and demand generation roles for software products. Sam's done a really great job with Loxo, where they've been able to take the positioning they already had as a talent intelligence platform and bring it to a larger audience and really increase their top level awareness and driving results for the business and getting themselves to the point where they've been able to take some bigger creative swings. So I'm a big fan of Sam's philosophy. I think you can learn a ton from it. I'm really glad he chose to listen to this week's episode. So hope you enjoy. Hey, Sam, how you doing today? Really glad you could take the time to join us on Live with Lighthouse.
Yeah, I'm excited, and especially as you were talking this week about just everything that you're doing over the next couple of weeks and some of your ambitious goals. I'm excited to be a part of this and love what you're doing with it.
Really looking forward to it, and been a big fan of your work with Loxo over the last year or so here, kind of like this repositioning campaign with the talent intelligence platform. Really been looking forward to that, and we're Loxo users here at Lighthouse. So been really glad to chat with you a little bit and kind of hear about some of your work and looking forward to sharing some more of that with our audience.
Perfect. Yeah, let's get into it.
For those who might not be familiar with you, was wondering, Sam, if you wanted to just intro with a quick fun fact about yourself.
Fun fact. Okay, this isn't the fun fact. My fun fact is usually I hate fun facts, which is kind of funny because it's so hard to come up with them on the spot. But I was like, okay, he told me he wants a fun fact before, so we'll get into it. I don't even know if this is a fun fact, but it's almost like the weird thing is I crave feedback and learning what I could be doing better, what I'm doing wrong. And it's not like in this masochistic way, but I grew up playing sports. I played soccer through college. And when you play at those higher levels, you always have a coach there, and their main job is to help you get better. And the higher you go, it's they're not there to give you the participation trophies. They're not giving you the gold stars. They expect you to do that. They're there to tell you, like, this is what you should be working on. This is what you should improve. Like, you're getting tired too early. Go do cardio. Your left foot sucks. You need to practice hitting 100 long balls with it and get better. So as I shifted into the workspace, like, I've learned that mindset's just stuck with me. And so that's something that it's always interesting because how you give feedback and how you receive feedback in the workplace is so different from when you're in like that sports context. It's often viewed as negative. So fun fact, like, if anyone ever doesn't like what I'm doing or thinks I could do a better job, please tell me. I will gladly accept it and say thank you versus getting all, up on my soapbox and telling you that I don't want to hear it.
We're definitely kindred spirits in that fact. And sounds like you made it a little further into your sports career than mine. Volleyball, hockey, tennis was my high school split, and it ended after high school graduation right there. But same kind of thing, right? It's like, I want to hear that feedback. I want to get better. It always frustrated me too, like when coaches wouldn't give me feedback that I knew, all right, I know I'm doing something wrong here. Like what's going on? So in the workplace too, proactively trying to like find opportunities to get that feedback is definitely part of my work too. And I will definitely keep an eye out on your work too. And glad to share tips and always message back and forth.
Deal. We'll keep each other honest.
Looking forward to it. Sam, really excited here. And, maybe for the uninitiated who aren't familiar with Loxo or your work, can you just give a little overview of the platform and what you're working on?
Yeah. So Loxo, the platform, all the fun. So it starts at the top, and human capital, like, that's the one thing every organization needs, right? Every company recruits or hires in some form or fashion. But the more specialized, the more niche, the more critical your role is, the more you cannot afford to make a bad hire. And I know that you probably know and feel this, but the average recruiter's tech stack is a mess of like 10 plus different tools, services, all Frankenstein's monster built onto one another. And so the Loxo's talent intelligence platform is essentially built with the vision that it shouldn't take 10 plus tools to make one hire. And so we simplify the recruiting process while reducing costs. And it's like, well, yeah, it's software. It should probably make things better, be cheaper if you're trying to pitch it. So the one caveat that I say is, like, for so long, simple software and sophisticated recruitment practices were mutually exclusive. But with the talent intelligence platform, that's no longer the case. The single shops, the low user agencies, or the people who are new, they can have sophisticated recruitment and doing it in a really easy to use place. That's what the vision of the talent intelligence platform is to just help you do what you do best, recruit, and not have to worry about your software, your tech, and all of the headaches that typically come with that.
it's a great example there. And Lighthouse being a for recruiter shop and using a tool like Loxo, being able to keep on top of everything and collaborate asynchronously as a team and then review it when we're in meetings and things like that has been really effective for us as well. And definitely, a great conversation to have there that really the high level goal, like what we're trying to get to, is helping people recruit and retain the best talent. So great tool to be able to do that and great place to start. So thanks, Sam. Can you walk us back a little bit to when you first joined Loxo
Mhm.
and what were some of the things that you learned about the platform, about the audience that have started to inform some of the marketing efforts you've taken up?
Yeah, the audience, the platform. This was a fun one. So let's start with the audience, the market. When I came in, my background is not recruiting. It's definitely B2B software, but I was not a recruiter. I've been part of hiring experiences, but never in the recruiter side. So I was like, okay, well, back to first principles. Let's learn about the market, how people go about their jobs. And so I just went and looked at a glance, like what's out there, who are we playing with? And so I popped over to G2 and I was laughing at this. There were over 500 different ATS tools. There's over 125 different recruitment CRMs. There's countless sourcing tools. You have contact information tools left and right. Like it's a very concentrated and dense space. So I was like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting to get into it. But on the product side, what I found is we had phenomenal win rates. And so before Loxo, I was at Refine Labs, which is a B2B marketing agency, and I oversaw 100 plus different businesses and their sales data. And Loxo's business results in terms of like win rates and everything else were far better than I had ever seen before. So what I took away from this is when people see Loxo, they choose us, but the marketplace is so crowded. People didn't know who Loxo was. We weren't on that initial list that people often have, like, oh, I need to go buy an ATS. Like, okay, I'm going to start thinking of competitor one, two, three. Like, if Loxo isn't on that list, we're not going to be part of that final decision being made. So, how do we break that? How do we start to help people understand, like, who is Loxo? What are they doing? It's kind of an ATS. It's kind of this. It's kind of that. There's that education perspective, but also not being a commodity with everyone else is the other challenge. Is like, I don't want to be one of 500. Like, how can we really start to separate and stand out so people think like, I want Loxo, not, oh, Loxo's one of five. I guess I'll go with them.
And that's a really great marketing problem to walk into, I guess, if you're thinking
Yeah.
about different problems, that it's a product that people end up buying and really see the value in. It's just a matter of, okay, building that top level awareness, communicating what makes you different at that first level. What were some other insights or decisions that kind of you had to address with the team at Loxo before taking on this kind of repositioning effort?
Yeah, so we had strong product market fit with that. So we really just weren't getting enough at bat. So I was like, our messaging is actually pretty good. It was the talent Matt already coined it as a talent intelligence
Okay,
platform before I
perfect.
came. So he was already working on it. He's already establishing the category. But where it's been at is the category is kind of saying it's just like, well, let's consolidate all your tools. And like, well, we have to push on that a little bit harder, just saying that instead of having 10 different tools from different categories, we're one consolidated tool in its own category. Like, what else can we do to really explain like the value that people are getting out of this? And so how we then went about it was, this is the fun part of the marketing strategy. It's like, well, we can get more people into the sales funnel if we want. I can go run lead gen campaigns. I can go tell people like talk to sales, just push ads all day out there. Like, hey, come check out Loxo. We'll give you $100 gift card. But I know how well that doesn't usually work. And so this goes back to a really interesting study that came from Bain. And normally I take those with a grain of salt, but I actually stand 100% by this. And it goes back to that list concept I was telling you about before, where they found that 4 out of 5 B2B buyers have a day one list when they start researching. And then 90% of those final purchases are from a vendor on that list. So if you're not on that list, like if someone's going to do an RFP, you're going to Google after they already know, like there's 3 options I want to go with, you're not likely going to be the one that they purchase. So our strategy is rooted in, how do we get ahead of that? How do we get on the day one list? So when someone finally enters the market, they finally feel that pain. They're not Googling something like, what's the best ATS for a recruiting agency? They're going straight and typing in www.loxo.co, or they're sending a DM to Matt, to myself, to someone on our sales team saying, hey, we want to get a demo, and they know what we do. We don't have to pitch them on the value because they already understand it. So that's where it's very easy to say that, right? But it's really hard to do. So what I was saying earlier, like, I can start with saying what this doesn't look like, and that's not treating everyone like they're in the market, because as and I both know, people are in long-term contracts. They have big teams, small teams. Change management is just not fun to deal with. And we're not running ads saying like, come talk to our sales team now. And we're also not having our sales team just reaching out with hard pitches to our prospects. We all get enough DMs in LinkedIn saying like, do you want our lead gen services? Do you want to buy our software? It's like those don't work anymore. So what it does look like is, how do we educate? How do we entertain our market? Because the reality is 95% of them aren't in the market to buy anything right, but they will be in the next 12, 24, 36 months. So taking that long-term approach, and then we have our AEs and BDRs take a consultative approach by offering to help prospects solve larger recruiting problems. Whether or not they use Loxo, building that trust early on is what also has them think positively about Loxo. They refer other people, even if they aren't customers of ours. So it's creating this long-term snowball that's really hard to stop once it gets rolling.
Yeah, and there's an interesting thing there too, Sam, to explore about the principle of maybe a rising tide raises all ships, that having those conversations about the issues that are personal to the communities you're trying to serve, the people who are doing the recruiting work and might potentially look at a tool like Loxo. By having those conversations, you're naturally going to grow the business along the way too. And then, even for people who might not choose Loxo, they're at least doing more effective work. They're still seeing the value in your solution. Maybe they still have some affinity and might come your way down the line as well. So really, really beneficial in multiple stages there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fun part. I mean, that's why we do our podcast at the end of the day. It's like, you use Loxo. If you don't use Loxo, that's fine. We're going to share tips to help you be a better recruiter based on just what we see with all the conversations we have with the recruiters and how they use the platform itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Always having those conversations and always staying top of mind is key. So really good reminder there. Thanks, Sam. When we talk about Loxo, you mentioned the talent intelligence platform. So you came into the role with Loxo. That verbiage was already there. It was really more than an issue of clarifying specific value proposition. And what difference does that make when you're thinking about the tool that you're bringing on as more than just an applicant tracking system? What were some of those things that you looked at that when you were starting to go to market with some of this messaging as you were coming in here and really enhancing that value proposition?
Yeah. So it really stemmed from just what Matt and Ilya, their co-founder, noticed in the beginning. It's just like, there's got to be a better way to do this. This bolted on scenario doesn't seem natural. And that's exactly what software and technology are supposed to solve for. How do you make process easier? How do you automate more things? And so starting from that, they spent 10 years building this out. We've been around for 10 years before I even joined the company. And this was the
Right.
first time we really started pushing marketing. And so following that thought of like, there's got to be a better way. We've got to be constantly innovating, pushing, because there's also that sense of like, don't rest on your laurels. There's plenty of software out there that, they build a great product once, then they just kind of plateau it. They don't really innovate further or anything else. Like, we don't want to be those people. With that in mind, talking about like earlier, we said, there's sophistication platforms and systems, and then you have simplicity. So how do we marry those? How do we create the ideal workflow? And that goes back to the first principles concept. Like, what's the job to be done of a recruiter at the end of the day? Like, if you're a full desk recruiter, you've got to go out, you get a job order. So I got to go find the perfect candidate for this role. I have to go and source that candidate. So I need to find access to some of the top candidates in the world. I mean, we live in a global workforce now. It's not, there still are plenty of opportunities where people are hiring within the same cities and everything else, but more people are open to just global workforce. How do we identify the best individuals? Now that I know who those individuals are, how do I get in touch with them? I need their contact information, but I can't send them a work email because that's going to be awkward. If I'm pitching them like, come work for this company instead of the one that you're at, and they're watching your inbox maybe or maybe not. So how do I get their personal information? Then how do I go about reaching out? Then from there, how do I track them through the ATS or our recruiting CRM? So there's all of these different things, and how do we marry that? So we're like, okay, how do we simplify this workflow as much as possible so you can just do it in one place, have it be seamless. You drag something over, it automatically pulls their contact information. You drag them to outbound, you can have campaigns already set up. And again, you don't have to jump over to another platform. And then if they reply, it logs it back in your ATS for you, like things like that. Software, tech, this is exactly what they should be built for at the end of the day. And so that is what we call, it's like Matt always often refers to it as Web 2.0. That's what a lot of organizations, companies, softwares should be doing today. And so the third further step, what I really like, is that too many ATS, too many recruiting CRMs, I call it, like, they're like Keurig coffee pods or solo cups. They're single use only. You work a job, you talk to the candidates, you make a placement, and then that data goes into the abyss of everyone else that you source, that you did anything with. Whereas a talent intelligence platform, it learns and grows with you. So from the job itself, you take into account things like the job title that you're working on, the hiring company and their unique makeup, how big are they, how much revenue do they have, what industry are they in, to the details of the job description. that all informs the talent intelligence platform. And it's going to help surface like, hey, here are ranked candidates for you that we think will be better fit based on those criteria. We're going to help you set up outreach cadences using specific details from that job description. So this is all learning and growing with you. And then the final part, Lex and I are going to get into this in a podcast soon, but it absolutely blows my mind when I hear this. Like, it's something like 80% of recruiters don't even use a recruiting CRM, which blows my mind. Like, this should make
Wow.
any job that you do make so much easier. Like, you're creating a database of the best possible candidates for you. And especially if you're in a specific niche, you only hire certain job titles, you work in certain industries, like what you learn from one job, if say you end up submitting 10 people, one gets hired, you have 9 phenomenal candidates still because you vetted them. And most people just let them fall to the wayside. They don't do anything with that. It's like, no, use that. And then when you get your next job, you already have that information. You have that relationship with them. Like, that's what expedites it. And that's how we say, it's like, we say make 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times more hires. That's how you do it. It's not because of anything crazy, but it's just servicing the information and the work that you've already done in a more intelligent way. So you're going from this concept of single use only to stacking growth that just makes things easier and easier over time.
Yeah, it's a really important way to do that as well. And I see that with our recruiting team as well, that you talk to so many different people throughout the process. You're screening them, you're getting to know them, you're building relationships. We do a keep in touch email and really kind of stay in communication with those people. Again, knowing that it's, a very timely industry that we're in. And when a new job order comes in, we want to be able to go back and see, okay, is there anyone we've talked to already who might be a really good fit for this position, and start from there before we go to
Mm-hmm.
the open recruiting and whatnot. So really being able to have visibility over all that, and it makes the term talent intelligence come into play a little bit more. It makes sense to me as just like a wordsmith and thinking about that and thinking more intelligently and working smarter, not harder in that way. So really see how that comes together, and can appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It has a better ring than talent common sense platform, talent intelligence. We go with that instead.
You could probably spin an ad around talent common sense, maybe for like an April Fool's campaign or something. Like, we're going to actually call it
That'd be
this now.
brutal.
Oh man. But as you were talking there, Sam, it got me thinking too, because thinking about the jobs to be done by recruiters and the various different things that you're looking at addressing through the platform, that's a really complicated value proposition to communicate over time. And it's not something that can come in one video or one social post or one Google ad or something like that. I actually wanted to go off on a tangent real quick, because I remember seeing a post of yours that pretty early on in your time at Loxo that you shut off all the Google ads when you were reviewing their effectiveness and what's really going to be most effective for Loxo. Curious if you could go a little bit into that decision and what those conversations were like. And then is that still where you're at right now, or are you starting to reimagine Google ads for Loxo and what those look like with some of the new messaging you've been rolling out?
Yeah, so we're still at that. I'm not spending money on Google Ads currently. And funny enough, I just did. I don't know if you know Chris Walker.
Hmm.
He has a podcast, Revenue Vitals. He just released it yesterday. He and I went and in about like a 20-30 minute conversation about this specific thing where I talk
Nice.
all the numbers and everything else. But yeah, the story behind it is Google, when you're in a crowded space, like we were saying, there's 500 different options for an ATS alone. When you have that many people bidding on a keyword, that drives up bid costs, right? There's only so much supply or demand that they can give that you want to go after. So 10 years ago, an average cost per click, I forget what the numbers are on Google, but it used to be like, $1, $2, something like
Minimum.
that. And then
Yeah.
fast forward in the past year, it's like 4, 5, 6. And these are very common terms. But when you get into high intent keywords, so like we were saying earlier, like best ATS software for recruitment agencies, a cost per click on those can go from anywhere from $50 to $100 because there's not a lot of volume for it. And so our pricing's on our website. I mean, we started at $119 per month. So that quickly tells you, if you run the numbers, say, okay, you spend $100 on a click, perfect world. Imagine if you convert 1 out of every 10 of those to a customer. Well, you've just spent $1,000 to acquire that person. And so granted, that's a very
Yeah.
ambitious statement, but I ran the numbers and basically found out on all the keywords that we'd been running previously, we were upside down, so to speak, in that it was costing us more to acquire them than we would get in revenue in the first year. And so my marketing acquisition target is always, we should be recouping any customer acquisition costs within 12 months from an ad spend standpoint. So if it costs more to get them than their first year contract would bring back to us, that's not worth it because I have other channels. There's LinkedIn, there's other places where I know that I can do that more cost effectively. So yeah, we paused all that. We shifted money over to different avenues, one of them being the TV commercials that we recently put out. But it's just the concept to me, it's like we're a startup and we're bootstrapped. We're not venture funded. So I have to be a steward of the money that we have. We only have a certain bank account, and it's either I can recklessly spend money and we can't grow the team like we would like to, or the more customers that we bring in, the more happy and correct customers we bring in, the faster we can grow the team, which means the better product because we'll have more engineers, better experience, we'll have more customer success, customer support people, better marketing because hopefully I'll get to hire some more marketers along the way. But that's where it all stemmed from us. Just like I can't look at this and reasonably say that this is worth the money when I know that there are other places I could spend this money for a better return.
And there's one word that you said in there, calling yourself a steward. And I think that's so important as well. And actually segues me back to what I wanted to ask next. Because if you're being a steward for the marketing and how that supports the business, that informs your conversations and your relationships with senior leadership. Obviously, Matt, I know, is CEO, and you've got him on a lot of your podcasts too. So clearly he's bought into the marketing efforts that you're undertaking now. How did you go about kind of creating that relationship with senior leadership and saying, hey, we want to rethink how we're approaching marketing and some of these things might be a little unorthodox. What was that process like for you?
Easier for me than for others because CEO of recruiting software, luckily he knows how to recruit. He believed in this methodology beforehand. So he sought people that could do it versus saying, I just need anyone who knows marketing to come in. So he understood my philosophy before he even reached out to me, which was, lucky. Most people don't get that, but there's still the rest of the team. There's the sales leaders, the customer success leaders, the product leaders who had to make sure that they understood what's our approach to marketing. Again, it's the long game. It's not the short game, which is what most B2B marketing is, unfortunately. So it was absolutely critical that every single one of them understand that, because if they don't trust the philosophy or they don't believe it'll work, it won't work, because this philosophy takes time to come to fruition. And that's also one where you can't straddle a line and kind of do half like, hey, talk to our sales now, we're going to give you a demo, and the other half trying to be like, buddy, let me help you, let me educate you, because people see through that. They're just like, oh, you're just, it's just another ploy to try to get us in. So that's where I say it's like that buy-in it's the snowball. And it was in the beginning, I had to set expectations saying, this isn't something where I'm going to come in and in a month, we're going to have thousands of leads. We're going to be rolling in the dough. This is going to take a quarter, 2 quarters, 4 quarters, 8 quarters to get to. In the first quarter, I barely even touched our demand generation. I had to get all of our systems and frameworks and processes created so that way, when Matt said, hey, how is this investment working? I have the data and the frameworks in place to be able to say, here's how it's going. Because if I just start throwing money at the wall and I don't have anything to report on or track it, then it's hard to know what's working at the end of the day. So that's where setting expectations, giving yourself the proper foundation to grow off of. I know it's not fun. It's not the sexiest things, but those are, like, I hate to keep coming back to this word foundation, but if you have a shaky foundation, or if you don't have that in place, then whatever you do on top of it is just going to come falling down, whether it's due to time, lack of trust, unrealistic expectations. That's the central point of it all.
Yeah. And really looking at trust there, I think that's what resonates with me and where it comes from as well, is that when I was coming to my job here at Lighthouse with our CEO, Randy, was very important that I had that trust and that we were thinking the same way. Awesome to hear that you had something similar with Matt when you were coming into Loxo. Really, really effective and probably sets a lot of foundation well. And then you're able to get, like you said, into systems and processes and not putting the cart before the horse too much. But you're still able to find some quick wins in there, but good to be able to lay the foundation, as you said.
Exactly.
Really excited too, Sam, because I gave a shout out on my LinkedIn a couple of weeks back too about that video campaign that you worked on. Was really impressed to see, and obviously myself having been a follower, seeing the podcast, seeing a lot of the content that's coming out of Loxo over time. There's a lot of brand development that goes into this messaging you've built around the talent intelligence platform to then where you can make this awesome video campaign with a couple out in the woods and searching for recruiting Bigfoot, and out in their car doing the whole alien hunt and whatnot, and using Loxo for that was a really fun play, and really enjoyed those.
Sweetie, I can find the alien's work history and contact info in seconds with Loxo.
Did Loxo build a cosmic gravitron tracker?
Phone, email skills, his conspiracy theory podcast, it's all here. I added him to an outreach campaign a few minutes ago, and he's already responded.
Spend less time probing and more time connecting. Loxo.
Sweetie, I can find Bigfoot's work history and contact info in seconds with Loxo.
Can Loxo track a bear by scent alone?
Phone, email, skills, his used camping gear store, it's all here. I added him to an outreach campaign a few minutes ago, and he's already responded.
Spend less time hunting and more time connecting. Loxo.
What was that process like? What was kind of the steps that built up to doing something like that and knowing, okay, this is the right time to take a creative swing like this for Loxo?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I'm gonna be honest, like I feel like we were almost like cheating at something because we shouldn't be allowed to have this much fun with work, right? But so what led up to it? One, it was unlocking that Google Ads money that I said before. It was like, well, why don't I repurpose this into something that I think could do better? So there were a couple different ways. We had existing channels that were doing well. So I'm like, okay, let's funnel some more money into those we know they're doing, but I can also piggy bank it. That's the beauty of being a bootstrap company. I don't have to spend every quarter a certain amount. And I said, let's piggy bank this and put this into a big bet that I think is going to work. And so why I thought it was the right time was because we were seeing that momentum build. We were hearing more people seeing Loxo in the marketplace. We were seeing more people coming in, wanting to use the product, talk to sales. When our sales and BDRs were calling prospects, the conversation has been starting to change from like, wait, Loxo, what's that? What do you do again? Like, oh yeah, Loxo, I know what you all do. Like I see the ads or I've been to the website. So that's the first signal. Like, okay, we're starting to get some brand awareness and recognition. And so how do we then take it to the next level? You're familiar with retargeting, right? And the philosophy of like marketing retargeting. So it's basically, yeah, it's like when a prospect or a user sees your ad, it's like, okay, they've seen this, they're familiar with us. Now we can go on to step 2, so to speak. And so the traditional retargeting funnel is like, they saw ad 1 on LinkedIn, so now they're ready for ad 2 on LinkedIn. They clicked on ad 2, so now they're ready for ad 3. It's very linear. You're at the mercy of the platform and the market following a very linear buying journey, which we both know like that doesn't exist. It's more like a scribble drawing of a 2-year-old with how much they dance around and go back and forth. And so the philosophy that we follow is more, it's like, how can you be omnipresent? So like, think about the last time that you were in the market to buy a car. Like, what was it? Was it a Jeep? I bet the last time that you were on the road, you kept seeing it everywhere. It was like, I saw a Jeep here. I saw a Jeep here. And so we wanted to take that same type of approach where you saw Loxo once, it's kind of in your mind, but now you're starting to see it more and more and more, but in different places that keeps you top of mind. Because again, it's like if you're limited to just showing up on LinkedIn, as soon as you go off of that, you're forgotten, even though you have this perfect funnel mapped out. So it's meeting our prospects in market where they are, where they spend time. It's like we could show up on TikTok. We haven't quite wanted to crack that or figure that out. Like we want to show up in a way where like the content is still helpful, educational, and entertaining. We don't want to force it if we're not ready for that, but we're like, I bet we can do a really good commercial that gets to the point of what we do. And we know that people, after work, they go and turn on their TV somewhere. They're watching something, whether it's on in the background, a show that they want to watch. And so with that, what we want to do is there's that subtle psychological aspect of seeing a brand on TV, and that makes them seem a lot bigger than they are if they show up on that medium versus like a more transactional, easy to appear on platform, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. So I was like, we're trying to burst through this, and people are like, oh, who's Loxo? That's a little startup. It's like, oh, they're on TV. Like they've got to be something. If this is where they're showing up, like that's no small fries to do that. So pushing really hard on that. And then it came down to essentially distilling like what we do in a way that hits home, but once it leaves you wanting to know more about it. So it's like that end tagline, find and contact even the most hard to reach candidates, but doing it in a way where it's like searching for Bigfoot, trying to find aliens. It's this like goose chase that most recruiters probably feel like, where they're trying to find that purple squirrel candidate where it's like, I don't know what you want. And then you have this guy that's using binoculars trying to find Bigfoot, and then his wife sitting next to him on a computer like, oh yeah, I've got Bigfoot's contact information right here, and I've got him on a Zoom in a few minutes. Like, what are you doing? So having that juxtaposition was really fun to just show it's like there are new ways, better ways, different ways to do this that don't make it so hard, so impossible to do the job that you thought you could never do.
It's a really cool concept, and I love how playful it is too. And just somehow you have to, when you're going to that format, you have to distill this big complex recruiting job to be done into 30 seconds. And I thought you did a really playful job with that, and kudos to you and the whole team that was involved in that. Where I'm wondering if we can go next is just asking about the process of that and how much time went into, okay, let's have a discussion about what we want this to accomplish. What do we want to get out of this campaign? What do we need people to know about us versus the time that went into the actual creating and distributing the videos?
Yeah, so they're both incredibly important because, if you don't distribute it well, then what's the point of spending all that time and energy into it? So we really looked at it in a few ways. Again, it's typically through the long-term lens of it, but with the commercials itself, we said we're not here to all of a sudden see an influx of 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 people saying like, "Oh, I saw the ad, I want to buy Loxo now." It was elevating brand awareness and brand stature with the market. So that's what we were going into. And one, like most organizations are going to be like, that's really hard to measure. Are you sure you want to do that? It's a pretty big investment to do it. So knowing that's the long game, like, and what this is doing psychologically with the market, we are like, no, it's going to work. It's going to do everything. And then we have three key data points. We look at every quarter. I look at pacing to goal for the quarter, but to keep from knee jerk reactions, it's really just looking over time. How many inbound hand raisers do we have? So people that sign up for the free product, people that want to talk to sales. How much pipeline do we have? How much revenue do we have? And so in the end, we should see it's like, we were talking about stacking growth of the talent intelligence platform. I also call that concept with marketing as well. All of your different marketing acts should not just be like random acts of marketing here and there, but how do they interplay with one another to create this start of hockey stick effect where they build off of one another. It's not like turn on channel one, watch things go through the roof, turn off channel two. Oh no, that's a big impact. Like they'll play together in this perfect ecosystem. So as part of this overall strategy, since these have gone live, we've seen and continue to see like up and to the right growth and all of these metrics every quarter. And we launched this, like you said, a month ago. We've even seen instances come through where just this morning I was laughing. We had someone that was in the UK say, when we asked, how'd you hear about us? They said the TV commercial. We're like, oh, awesome. Love it. So like you have people coming in from that way, but also an unexpected one was like some of our sales team, even Matt was on a sales call and he said that he was talking to a prospect and they brought up the commercial on their own. He's just like, I was checking out Loxo. I was on the fence about it. And then I was watching TV one night and I saw a Loxo ad and then I saw another Loxo ad. And I was like, man, this must be it. Like, this is my sign. And so that's almost like the pipeline accelerator or just that omnipresence where you show up, it further hammers home those points in different ways. So it's not just creation, but it's almost like validation in another aspect as well. So again, that's where you say it's like every piece has its own part to play. And if you don't look at them so transactionally, that's where the beauty of it all comes together.
Every part has its piece to play. That's a really good takeaway right there. And clip that one for everyone watching and really look back at this from that lens of, how does everything play together? Like that omnipresence, almost thinking of it as like an ecosystem too, right? Like at Lighthouse, we have our podcast, we have our website, we have emails that we send out to people, things like that. Just different pieces of the conversation all play together, thinking about that through the lens of, okay, how are we top of mind? Are we making sure that people have that affinity for us so they know, like, and trust us, that then on the chance when they're ready to seek an external partner for recruiting or for managed IT services, they know to come to us for that type of stuff. And sounds like you've got the same type of system with Loxo as well.
Exactly. Yeah. It's beautiful when it works. So I love that y'all are doing it too.
Love it when a good plan comes together. Sam, this has been a really good chat as we start to bring this home here. Just wanted to open up the floor a little bit. Was there anything that you really wanted to hit on related to this repositioning conversation that we missed?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well. I mean, it's been fun. Honestly, I'm looking forward to hearing if people have been enjoying it, if they find it lands well and everything else. So back to the initial fun facts about me, like feedback, send it. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we're going to have lots of links in the show notes so people can check out every piece of these campaigns that we've been talking about, and really hope it's informative and helps people learn something new. So super appreciative to you as well, Sam, for taking your time to come on Live with Lighthouse here. As we bring it home, we always have one question at the end that's in the spirit of one of our core values, be a lighthouse. So I wanted to see if you wanted to take the opportunity to give a shout out to someone who's supported you or helped you learn something new lately.
Yeah, I'm going to give two here.
Go for it.
They're my co-stars on our podcast on the Tactical Tuesday, specifically Vivian Marion and Logan Heck. So I told you earlier, like my background is not recruiting. So when I set out with the podcast, I'm like, I'm not a subject matter expert. People are going to read right through me if I try to position myself that way. So being part of a team with so many smart people I can learn from and who are quick to want to volunteer, that help. Like these two jumped in. They've got so much recruiting experience and knowledge where they're like, yeah, like tactical stuff. Let's go all day. Let's help recruiters be elevated with their different practices. And whether they use Loxo or not, it doesn't matter, but they help join our episodes to just fill with like quick hitting insights, tips for recruiters that they can implement as soon as they finish listening in that day. So huge shout out to them, because not only do they help other recruiters, but like I learn from them every time we talk. And my quest to become a better recruiter, someday I might, but it's as my job is to help recruiters in the space. I want to understand what I'm talking about, and having their knowledge just absorb like a sponge is so amazing to have.
Yeah, we're marketers. We naturally have that curious mindset, and great to shout out your team members, and great to see that you have so many team members who are willing to get visible and participate in the marketing as well is a huge part of making this all work. So really enjoy this chat, Sam. If people want to learn more about your work or about Loxo, what's a good way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, our website, loxo.co. We've got a podcast, and it's when you're done listening to this one, jump over to ours, Becoming a Hiring Machine, and you're going to be on before long. It's going to be a fun one for us to record there. And then, LinkedIn is probably the only social channel I'm really active on, so you can find me on there.
Sam, thanks so much. Thanks to everyone who tuned in today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Just again, wanted to say thanks to Sam for taking the time to join the show, and thanks to everyone who's taken the time to tune into this and all of our previous episodes of Live with Lighthouse. We really appreciate you taking the opportunity to learn something new to grow your business. I think Sam's conversation was really insightful today. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want to learn more about his approach and some of the new ideas that came up. Really looking forward to keeping the marketing conversations going this month. Make sure to come back next week. Next Thursday, we're launching our episode with Lauren Melenda from Riveter Design. Lauren's coming on to talk about personal branding, how it supports your employer brand, and how company leaders can use it to more effectively communicate some principles from their own leadership design and make it authentic. We're always talking about authentic connections in marketing. I think it's going to be a really interesting chat. I want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in. Have a great week.